Live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, once again for the second time, it is the Fuel Jetstream Media IndyCar Series with their second annual, as we turn down the volume there, with their second annual Fuel Indianapolis 250. 100 laps at the most infamous brickyard, pretty much, well, the only brickyard as well in the world. This is the Racing Line Broadcasting Network. So once again, everybody, welcome to the Racing Line Broadcasting Network. We're going to get our overlay set up here in a second, as that was the only thing that has been forgotten, but that will be set up, and your original picture will be coming back here in just a few moments' time. And already, apparently we're having a few frame rate issues. We'll hold off on anything else. Looks like that's just from the overlay program loading up, so we should be fine in terms of frame rate and everything else under the sun. But we will hold off on getting your picture back just to make sure. Last week it has been an interesting qualifying session for this league, as looking back, once we get this pulled up here in just a few moments, and apparently since everything else is deciding to not properly work, we'll see if we can get that set up here in just a couple of moments, as we should be getting an interview with your pole sitter, Zach Buchanan, when available. As everyone knows, of course, is doing their, not exactly qualifying runs, but more of a timing run, since, of course, well, we're pretty much done already in the case of qualifying, as that has, again, been completed last week. So, since the document is loading and apparently deciding to maul everything over on this side, we'll wait just a little bit to actually get to that starting grid. Until then, you have the beautiful backdrop of Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the process, as we can finally just barely get those times up. 26 drivers had qualified. I believe 27. I believe there's someone else that has been inserted into the series, but other than that, one of those drivers is actually up here for the time being, and, well, that driver's the well-known, sort of, sorry, Eric, but but either way, it is the one and the only Eric Gonzalez over here on commentary for the time being for your pre-race. So thanks, Eric, for joining.
Well, yes, it's my pleasure. It is the one and only Indianapolis Motor Speedway hosting what is arguably the best series in the world, IndyCars. It's the Indy 500 qualifying week IRL, so I'm going to be going to that. But other than that, the focus is currently on the Indy 250 and the show that will be put on tonight.
Yeah, tonight's show is going to be interesting for sure. We'll see if we can get a few drivers to actually get here and do some interviews, starting as we get the timing up here just for a quick second, just to see how much time we have left. 6 minutes, close enough. That works out. About a minute per person, possibly. But other than that, we're going to start off with your pole sitter, Zach Buchanan, who's starting on pole once again in the number 40 machine, as his car is currently sitting on pit road. What are you looking forward to tonight, Zach?
I'm looking forward to defending my win here and trying to help my teammate get the championship lead.
Now,
go ahead.
Now, Zach, how do you go from taking your qualifying day pole speed, and how do you go about turning that into the race day?
I think I've got good race day speed, so for me, it'll just be about staying out of trouble and keeping it consistent. I don't have the best track record here, so personally for me, it's mostly just keeping out of.
Well, it has been great for you to quickly step in and give a word on what you're expecting for tonight, as you're currently third in practice time, so we hope to see you by the end of the night.
Yep, thanks, guys.
So that has been Zach Buchanan, driver of the number 40. Next up, we're going to have either, actually, got the, as his number slips me, I know his name. It's, of course, the one and the only Jack Andrick, the number 9 machine, who's currently doing about 5 barrel rolls on the back straightaway. Great somersaults and stuck the landing. There he is.
Just in time for the interview.
Well, aside from flipping off of turn number 2, what are you looking forward to for tonight's 100-lap event?
I think what I'm looking forward to is, first off, good racing. You know, these cars are just insanely fast, so I'm looking forward to that. And also just strategy. I've been trying to plan a decent strategy for this race, and I've been looking forward to this event now for like months, actually. So I think strategy and just the speeds that we're going is just, this is incredible. There's no other race like it.
Yeah, in terms of strategy, we have about at least 30 to 35 laps being the pit window for tonight. So do you have anything in store for that plan?
I mean, I don't want to give away too much, but I think that that sounds about right. I want to try and extend the fuel as much as possible, and it's just difficult with the dirty air. I feel way more comfortable in the clean air, but if I want to save fuel, I need to be behind somebody so I can lift off. So those laps sound correct. Hoping for probably like a 3 stop, I would say, and 2-3 stops, something like that. We'll see what happens. It also depends on when cautions come out and whatnot.
I'll definitely see what happens for sure. Good luck out there for tonight, Mr. Jack Andrick.
Thank you so much.
And of course, Jack Andrick actually qualified for position number 7 for tonight's race. And finally, we should be having Mr. Jared Dixon in the number 16 machine, who's actually on track right now. So how's it going out there on track, Jared?
Right now I'm not in the draft of anybody, so it's pretty calm. I was in the draft for a few laps, and the aero push gets really bad after a few laps.
Yeah, it's definitely something to really look out for as far as tonight goes. I believe you were actually put into this race at the last second, as you're starting row 14 on the inside of Chris Matthews, and I'm not seeing you at the moment on qualifying time, so that's definitely a little bit of a relief for sure.
Yeah, had a long night that night and wasn't able to set a time. So Will was grateful and put me in the field for the race.
We hope to see you by the end of the night. Until then, good luck.
And Jared, as well as your team owner, do remember that if you wreck the car, it's coming out of your paycheck. That totally exists. But yes, good luck, and I hope to see you.
Yeah, you too, Eric.
So it's for sure going to be an interesting night. So as we have about a minute left in qualifying, we're going to throw it to possibly one of the most definitely one of the most iconic songs here for Indianapolis Motor Speedway, given by, not live, but pre-recorded by the ever so very talented, and I'm very jealous about about this as well, Eric Gonzalez, for performing back home in Indiana.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends out its fragrance through the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home.
So apologies for that cutting out earlier on. I had accidentally clicked out of where it was playing from, and for some reason it had decided to just instantly stop itself. So apologies for that once again, but luckily I got the relative location of where it cut out from. But until, actually, as we start to grid here for tonight, we'll see who starts where. Unfortunately, without any actual lap times. We'll read the lap times off here in just a couple of moments as we get everything reset. Once Windows over here decides to cooperate on our screen. So, as we get rid of the graphic and get everything set back up, we'll see who starts where for tonight. Starting row number 1 is going to be Zach Buchanan. Chad Frankenfield to his outside. And Zach Buchanan's pole time, just as a reference, was a 39.403, 5 thousandths of a second slower was Chad Frankenfield. We have Mitchell Walker starting in 3rd place. 4th place is the one and the only Matt Hollabaugh. Eric Gonzalez starts in the top 5. Ryan Kish starts 6th. 7th place going to be Jack Endrick. 8th is Will Roberts. 9th place Andrew Wood. And 10th place is going to be the 37 of Kyton Bommersbach. Evan Adams starts 11th. Danny Roberts in 12th place. 13th going to be Michael Krobach. 14th is Cohen Evans. 15th going to be Gail Brooks. Last week's winner Byron Daly starts 17th. 18th Matthew Warner. 19th is Michael Hurley. Rounding out the top 20 will be Cade McKee. Starting in 21st is Marshall Stanley. 22nd going to be the 13 of Stephen Herring. 23rd, John Wilco. 24th, John Martin. 25th is Don Runkle Jr. 26th, Jared Dixon. And rounding out the field is also Brandon Minto in the number 5 for tonight. So we're going to see what happens here over the course of 100 laps for tonight's event. And Zach Buchanan is starting on the pole for tonight. 100 laps, race 13 of 16. One of the crown jewel events here of the Fuel Jetstream Media IndyCar Series. The 2nd annual Fuel Indianapolis 250 is underway as the green flag flies. Zach Buchanan leads the field down to turn 1. And after one lap, it is one lead change going to Mitchell Walker. Maybe not. Chad Frankenfield tries to sneak up the middle, gets the lead at the start-finish line. That is one lap down, and there's 99 left to go as Chad Frankenfield had quickly taken the lead away from Mitchell Walker there at the last second. We could be seeing that as well for the entire night to come. As Buchanan, as we ride on board, sits behind the number 1 of Mitchell Walker. Chad Frankenfield top signing that 5G sponsored vehicle for Verizon. Very interesting paint scheme. I believe it's Will Power inspired as well. As Walker moves back down to the inside, protecting the inside lane from Buchanan. We'll see what happens here off turn number 4 as Frankenfield is pretty much all over that back bumper. Drag race to the line. That time around it was apparently Welker. Sorry, it was actually Buchanan that was in second place. Once again, scoring is as of the start-finish line. To save for complications here, how many times are we going to see drivers get the wall off turn number 2 or turn number 4, or any corner in this case, is a question that will have to be answered later on. So about 70 laps to go to 65 laps to go is going to be the pit window for tonight. Down to the inside goes Buchanan at the start-finish line. It was Chad Frankenfield. Side by side throughout the entire field. We'll go to the mid-pack here, about Evan Adams or so. Just a few drivers around. Kyton Bommersbach in at 37 on the top side. Inside, Byron Daly in the 06. Already made his way up to 11th place after starting 17th. He won last week as well at the Indianapolis Grand Prix circuit, putting himself in the points lead after being gone for a few weeks for real-life team reasons, I believe about RCR. Danny Roberts here in 4th. He made his impact known at Long Beach because he started dead last in that second twin race and made his way to 9th, I believe. So 20th to 9th, not too bad, and he's got the momentum still for tonight as he sits currently in 4th place. So the lap's quickly winding down. We'll see if we can possibly get that reset to about 50 laps to go. But in the meantime, it is 2 by 3 down the back straightaway nearly as they head down into turn 3, down the short chute into turn 4. And it is Mitchell Walker moving his way back up to P number 2. So you see Walker just riding behind Zach Buchanan, not really making a move. And that will give the advantage right now to the number 40 of Buchanan as they head back down onto the back straightaway. And side by side is going to happen for sure. Frankenfield inside, top side is Buchanan. He will get the advantage as clouds cover the racetrack. Once again, it will be the 15, just barely getting an edge on the entry to turn number 3. 5 laps into this event. At the start-finish line is Chad Frankenfield. We'll see who has led the most laps. It's Zach Buchanan with 2, Chad Frankenfield with 3. I don't believe Mitchell Walker. Mitchell Walker actually must have led 2 laps, as we're currently on lap 7, or at least a lap. I don't believe the first lap really counts because, coming to the initial green, he was, of course, almost in the lead. But Frankenfield snuck up through the middle, and around goes Mitchell Walker early on. The caution is going to come out. 3, 4, 5. It's a big one on the entry of turn 3 here. About 5 cars involved, multiple drivers involved. Andrew Wood is involved in that. Jack Andrick, Marshall Stanley was involved. Mitchell Walker for sure. We saw him go around. Matt Hollaball here on the top side. John Martin, I don't believe, is involved. Neither is Don Rocco Jr., neither the back portion of the field. But we are under caution here for the first time tonight, and it is a very, very large wreck, and it may be already the end of a few drivers' dreams to win the 2nd annual Fuel Jetstream Media IndyCar Series event. And we'll see what exactly happened here off of turn number 3. Let's get everything set up here for a few moments. We'll see what exactly happens. We'll ride on board with Mitchell Walker here as they head down the back straightaway here on this replay. So into the corner, and that's what it was right there. And the correction sent him around, and multiple drivers were involved. Jack Andrew, oh my gosh. That's multiple drivers for sure that were involved. Not sure who. I believe that's Matt Hall. Actually, not sure who that is right here. That looks to be Marshall Stanley in the 25. He's also for sure involved in this. Not really the best way to be involved. He was a little bit of a ways back here, and we'll see if we can get an onboard from Marshall Stanley. Wreck start all the way up there. Tried to make it through, and just did not work at all. There's Mitchell Walker flipping wildly. There's somebody that barely, as the field gets to the start-finish line, That is Michael Hurley. I don't believe he got any major damage. I didn't see anything from the 56, so we'll see. I see 5 cars, about 6 or so cars from that frame. That is insanely close to see directly in front of you. Jack Andrick was also involved in this wreck. In the number 9. It happened just in front of him as well. Oh, man. Oh, he almost had it. Jack Andrick would have had the avoidance of a lifetime there. Unfortunately, got tagged from behind. Matt Hollabaugh was involved as well. And will take a while to get the correct camera angle. Ah, he almost had it. So to get an official count of how many drivers were involved, we have, as some have already taken it behind the wall, unfortunately, we have the 02 of Matt Hollabaugh, the 32 of Andrew Wood, the 37 of Kyton, nope, not the 37 of Kyton Bommersbach. So we have the 02 of Matt Hollabaugh, the 32 of Andrew Wood, the 1 of Mitchell Walker, 25 of Marshall Stanley, and the 9 of Jack Andrick, as well as another driver that was upside down. Not sure who that is as of right now. We'll get a confirmation on who that was. It was Will Roberts in the number 20. I did barely even saw him get involved in the wreck. And he probably almost had the avoidance here as we go to another replay. Almost had it. Oh, yep. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would definitely put somebody out of action for sure in this race. So about 5 to 6 drivers are involved this early on, unfortunately, and everyone has already went to pit road. Lights on the pace car will remain active. And unfortunately, Will Roberts is out early on. So we'll see. We have Matthew Warner in first place. Second place, Chad Frankenfield. Third place is Zach Buchanan. Fourth place, Danny Roberts. Fifth place, Eric Gonzalez. Sixth place is Byron Daly. Seventh, Michael Krobach. Eighth place, Gail Brooks. Ninth, Caden McKee. And 10th is Evan Adams. Rounding out the field, we have Kyton Bommersbach in 11th. 12th, John Martin. 13th, Don Runkle Jr., 14th, Brendan Minto, 15th, Jared Dixon, 16th, Stephen Herring, 17th, John Wilco, and 18th, the heavily damaged Matt Hollabaugh. Cohen Evans in 19th, the barely avoided of a wreck, that makes any sense at all, the number 56, Michael Hurley, in position 20, Ryan Kish, Jack Andrick, Andrew Wood, and Marshall Stanley, all 21st through 24th in pit road. And James Pasquarella just tagged onto the field here. I don't believe he was involved in any of the wrecks, but he is 4 laps down. So lights on the pace car should be off this time by. And we'll see if we can bring in the... see if we can bring in the driver of the number 20, Will Roberts. He did mention, as that is unfortunately the incredibly wrong button there. We'll get that set up in just a quick second, but he did mention that he was open to join commentary. Well, thanks, Will, for not having me to destroy my voice for the next possibly about an hour or so.
Yeah, it's definitely not how. Definitely not. Did not want to be up here this early. Can say that much, but we're still in for a good show here tonight. We've still got about 90 laps to go, and we've already seen a very nutty start to the race, and it's just going to be more chaotic, but I think a good chaotic the rest of the way out.
Yeah, we've already seen how the opening laps had it played out. I mean, you were involved in that as well. There was just drafting pretty much all over the place, and everybody was involved somewhere. Mitchell Walker, I don't believe, has still left a lap as of yet, and as I say that out loud, I remember that he is actually out of the race, so way too early on. More than likely frustrated. I would be as well. I should know, but we'll see what Matthew Warner has in store here on this restart. So the pace car leads the field through turn number 4, and then it will pull off, putting the field in control of the 64, who actually did not go to pit road. Matthew Warner is the only driver yet to pit. Everyone else is on, he's on 11-lap-old tires, coming to 12-lap-old tires. So we'll see if that plays off as the green flag flies. We are back under green here as they head down into turn number 1, down the front straightaway. Matthew Warner trying to break the draft early on.
Yeah, and Warner got a good jump there, but I think that's going to bite him by the time they get back around turn 3, because Frankenfield is going to have the draft, he's going to have the run, and I think he's going to get by him, as he's already got a major run coming off the corner. And he's going to duck to the inside here, sure enough. Is Buchanan going to follow? He thought about it.
Oh, man, I thought he was going to make it 3 wide there for a second. It looked like he was, but the placement says, well, you know what, there's not enough space, so I'll decide not to. Although he is definitely all over that back bumper of Frankenfield, trying to get up to the first place position, at least trying to get as much drafting as possible, as everyone you can see is just trying to figure out whatever lane works. Gonzalez down to the inside, 3 wide for the lead. Danny Roberts shoots to the lead. Was that the start-finish line? I have absolutely no idea. Looking back at that, it was Zach Buchanan. But Danny Roberts definitely showing his momentum early on. Oh, that's not going to work.
Contact off of 2, and I think that wrinkled up the right rear on Roberts a little bit. It might have wrinkled up the wing on Buchanan, but that could very well be how we see this thing play out in the end, because the margin at the line there was 3 thousandths of a second.
3,000.
It could get closer than that when we get down to the end of it.
Yeah, I do not doubt that whatsoever. There goes Frankenfield down to the inside lane, just barely has a wing there on Danny Roberts. He backs out. Very wise move, since he wasn't fully alongside. Right now it's still Zach Buchanan trying to stick with Danny Roberts, but it will not work for the time being. As far as Frankenfield goes, well, Roberts doesn't really have anyone to worry about as they head down on the back straightaway. Buchanan to the inside for the lead. Top side goes Frankenfield.
Yeah, Frankenfield tries to work that top, and I feel like it might be a little early for 3 wide like that, because we've still got 85 to go basically, and I just don't know. I feel like these guys are just a little too racy, a little too early.
And it's definitely putting on the show, however, for a little bit of connection issue on the side of looks to be Danny Roberts. That was the tire smoke there on the top side. Speaking of top side, Evan Adams way up high on the exit of turn number 1. Then the huge train for the lead as they go down the back straightaway. Everyone trying to figure out where to go. Michael Krobach from out of absolutely nowhere tries to follow suit, falls back to 5th for the time being. Ooh.
Yeah, it looked like there was a little bit of connection, a little bit of netcode issue there on the back straightaway, and Krobach almost ended up in a really, really bad.
Yeah, that's a very wise move for him to back out. He does have a lot of time, 84 and a half laps to go on the back straightaway as they head down once again back into turn 2. I mean, we've seen it early on. We're going to have to see how drivers really take their lines now, as unfortunately being the unfortunate example of that being Mitchell Walker. He took way too low to the inside right here in turn 3 on the exit, got to the curb, left side tires on the curb, upset the car in the grip, and next thing he knows, he's around. He tried to catch it, but unfortunately it was Buchanan that was on the top side.
Frankenfield makes a wicked move off of 4, and that's going to put him up alongside Buchanan, but Buchanan got it at the line. He led that lap, but Frankenfield's the one that's going to lead him down into 1, because he's going to have the inside line and the momentum.
Yeah, speaking of momentum, Danny Roberts, oh gosh, that is about 2 feet of space, not even 2 feet, probably a foot of space between himself and the left rear tire of Zachary Buchanan. He visibly backs off here. Kind of a very smart move here early on. Again, as we look back, Matthew Warner actually trying to stick with the field here. He's on lap 17, coming to lap 18 of his current stint. He has not yet pitted whatsoever in this race, so he's trying to save and stick to strategy as much as possible. Again, pit window being about 30 to 35 laps.
Yeah, and I can tell you the guys who are going to be in the best position on that right now are going to be your guys like Mike Hurley, Kyle Brooks, Don Runkle, those guys that are sort of at the back of the pack, but they're still in the draft, because they might be able to make that 35 laps. And the thing is, everyone still has to make 2 stops. Warner's going to be a little close, but he's got caution laps that are going to save him, so he can make it from here on too. Everybody else, it's going to be, they're golden for that, but they've still got to make both those stops.
Yeah, everyone's going to have to pit at some point for sure, at least. Whether it be once, twice, definitely twice for sure, because you can't pit once and then expect to make it to the end unless you somehow have a second fuel tank. As in the background there, I believe it was Evan Adams that was on the very top side. Couldn't tell for sure on who that was, but you see Zachary Buchanan trying to make a peek to the outside alongside the 15 of Frankenfield. Danny Roberts just following suit behind Frankenfield, going back down to the inside, following suit behind Buchanan, and then following in the corners behind Frankenfield. But at the moment, I don't think Danny Roberts knows really where to go as of yet.
Yeah, and that's one guy who he made me a little nervous there. I got to give a shout out to Evan Adams. That is he's having a very good run right now. Evan's not usually one in that All-American iRacers chassis we see up here at the front, but he's making it work.
He's making that work as much as possible. That draft is going to definitely play a very powerful effect. Eric Gonzalez right behind him there in 5th. Michael Krobach in the blue number 90 machine follows suit in 6th place. As we are on already 88 laps to go here. Still going to expect to see pit stops at some point. These drivers are on their 11th, coming to the 12th lap as it's side by side at the start-finish line. That time by, looking at the lap counter, the lead lap counter, it goes to Zachary Buchanan that time around.
Oh, as Roberts got the apron a little bit there, and he got a little loose, but he kept it under control. Yeah, we're probably gonna be seeing Warner's gonna be in the pits here in around 10, in about, I'd say probably 15 laps, and then we'll probably see the rest of the guys trickle in about 10 laps later. Yeah, as this is really, I think strategy is gonna be a big key here as we get later on.
And strategy will definitely play a very important effect into this race, as it was Chad Frankenfield that time by. I'm going to be interested to see who exactly... Oh, Roberts barely scraped the wall there off of turn 1. Way too used to regular ovals here, but Danny Roberts barely scraped the wall on the short sheet there. I'm interested to see how many lead changes we'll have by the end of this race. Already, we probably had about, let's see, 9 laps. A lot. I'll just go for that right now. Probably about, as a realistic estimate, I'd say about, let's see, probably 10 lead changes or so.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this goes the rest of the way, but we very well could set a record here for the most lead changes in a fuel IndyCar
Buchanan,
race.
upside down, tumbling. Caution's going to come out. Almost made contact with Frankenfield as somehow everyone else avoids him. That's another race for Zachary Buchanan as he's still bouncing around like a pinball here, ping pong ball, and instantly takes it off the track of Zachary Buchanan. We saw that live as it happened as well. We'll take another look at this as they head back down into turn 1. I don't know if that was netcode or not. I could not tell, but it looked like it was a little bit of netcode for Buchanan. Between Buchanan and Frankenfield, I am honestly not too sure about that, but we'll see what the onboard of Danny Roberts shows. And we'll take a look at this in slow motion as well. Frankenfield inside, drifts up just a little bit. Buchanan, yeah, that was definitely netcode because he moved, but they still had about a foot of space in between both of those drivers. So unfortunately, a netcode incident has eliminated essentially Zachary Buchanan from this event.
Yeah, and that was a hard hit. I'll say that. Luckily, I don't think anyone else got collected in it, but I know you call it netcode, but I think they were gonna hit it. Yeah, it looked like Frankenfield took a bit of a high entry there, and it unfortunately it bit Buchanan.
Yeah, there's somebody that nearly got contact there. Not sure who that was. We'll get a confirmation of that. It was John Martin that nearly got contact. I don't see anything, however, as of right now in his front bumper. There he is, top side of your screen. Yeah, he looks pretty fine. So he had a very close encounter with that accident, but on the bright side, he is still managing to continue on in this race. So we'll see who exactly goes where for pit stops here. I'm wondering for sure who decides when to pit. I'm assuming going back to the 64 of Matthew Warner, who's in 6th place. He's on lap 24 of his stint. He would have to pit at this point. Coming to pit road, pit speed, I believe, 60 miles an hour. As, yep, pit limiters are active on everybody. Somebody had stayed out. That is Evan Adams trying to get a lap lead here under caution, and that will work. As he gets to that lap lead, he stays out. Frankenfield and the rest of the, well, pretty much the entire IndyCar field here are in pit road as of right now. In a sense, time is of the essence. Frankenfield getting possibly poor tires. Roberts already down in the way early on, but he'll come out second to Chad Frankenfield. As Frankenfield exits pit road first, second Nate Roberts, Eric Gonzalez third off pit road, fourth off of pit road is Michael Krobach, fifth off of pit road Byron Daly, slowly moving up. It just through these runs, Byron Daly's barely managing to move up here just a little bit. Or should I say, reword my sentence and say just managing to move his way up through the field. So as we are under caution for the second time tonight on lap number 25 of 100, we're going to go for a quick commercial break here under caution, as we are under caution. But as per usual, this is still the Fuel Jetstream Media IndyCar Series here. 25 laps almost complete, while 75 laps to go, and we'll see what exactly Evan Adams has in store, if he does decide to stay out for the rest of this run. This is the Racing Line Broadcasting Network. We'll be back here just before the green.
Voice of the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Series. Introducing Pro 2 and Pro 4 trucks on iRacing. Game on!
And we are back live here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Caution lights are now out around the racetrack and on the pace car. Evan Adams has not went to pit road, and it looks like Evan Adams is trying to do the same thing that Matthew Warner had pulled off earlier on. And, well, Warner still in the top 10, but the downside for Evan Adams is he's coming to his 19th lap on his current tires, his current run. It's about 30 to 35 laps just on fuel. This could again, like Will. Well, if I can properly speak English here, like you mentioned earlier, Will, on the previous restart, that jump from Matthew Warner kind of came back to bite him. He still managed to hang on in about the top 5, but right now it's going to be space car pulls off. Evan Adams out in front as they head down the front straightaway.
Green flag.
On the pedal goes Evan Adams. We're green.
Yeah, there's a bit of a botched restart there. Evan not used to restarting these races, and he's going to get freight trained here. Brought him down a little later than I think a few guys are expecting. There was a bit of a checkup in the back as Evan's just going down the order right now.
Yeah, look at this, though. Eric Gonzalez top. Nope, never mind. I was about to say top side. Danny Roberts decides, well, you know what? I'm going to take that top side away and at least go attempt to get by the 15 of Chad Frankenfield. Though Roberts slides up just a little bit. That almost didn't end well. We are 2 by 2 on the front straightaway between the front 4 runners. As right now it looks to be Chad Frankenfield edging out Danny Roberts at the start-finish line.
Yeah, and Roberts is probably one of the best drivers purely on talent out on the track this season, but he has had such a bad run of luck. I've been running with him now this will be the seventh running with him, and I've never seen him have such a bad stretch of races as he has had the last 13, 14 rounds.
Yeah, at the moment that luck could possibly turn around, but maybe not. And something that actually just came into my head here is that now that Mitchell Walker is out of this race, that's going to definitely secure the point standings, or at least the point lead, maybe, at the moment, for Byron Daly. And that's just the front 2 in the point standings as Roberts gets around the top side of Frankenfield. Here comes Krobach up in the 3rd. Onto the back straightaway. Speaking of Byron Daly, well, he's still hovering over here in 6th place in the 06. Won again last week at the Indianapolis Grand Prix circuit. I believe his 5th win of the season. Maybe wrong, maybe his 4th win, but either way, he is, again, just an impressive driver as well. So he's not the only one with a lot of talent here, but for sure, it's definitely a little bit offsetting possibly for Byron Daly to be here in the top 5, about the top 10, as Krobach gets up to the top side of Danny Roberts for 2nd place as they exit turn number 1.
Yeah, Daly's in this. He's in this for the championship right now. And the fact that we've got double points on tap tonight, Mitch Welker is scoring 2 points. That's it. He got the normal point for winning pole, and with it being double points, he got 2 points for that. Daly right now is sitting in a great position to essentially take a whole race on Mitch Welker. Obviously, tough luck for Welker, but if you're Byron Daly, you're just trying to get to the end of this and maximize what you can and not get caught up in other business, because they're still racy at the front. There's a good chance there's something nutty about to happen.
Yes.
And there's still now 2 whole fuel runs. So you've just got to sit back, relax, and just be there at the end.
Yeah, at this point, it's not really best to make any crazy moves here. However, unless you're at the front trying to lead a lap and you're Evan Adams trying to get around Krobach on the top side in the entry of turn 3, you're thinking otherwise. You're trying to say, well, you know what? I'm just going to try and make my way back up to the front if you're Evan Adams. And again, he is on how many ultra lap tires? Well, let's see. His current run is 20. Actually, we'll hold off on that. His current run is 24 laps. The rest of the field that pitted 8 laps. And there goes Krobach back down to the inside, so that didn't really last too long for Evan Adams. But the thing is, everyone is so racy up front that I believe they're forgetting the key thing to remember here, and that is fuel. Especially since some drivers may be on a uneven run at this point, since pretty much everybody had pitted early on.
Yeah, pretty much everybody pitted early on. And the other thing that a lot of these guys, I don't know if they've realized right now, is everyone that's out here still has to make 2 stops. We have just now gotten to the end of the first sort of fuel run, the first mark that you put in the race. I don't think we're going to see green flag pit stops right now, but we will. I think we will see that before 2-2.
Yeah, we could be seeing that eventually, just not as of right now. Which there goes Roberts up to the top side, following suit in the distance. There was the 90 of Krobach, looks a little bit to the top side, and they get very, very close, nearly making contact again on the left rear wheel of Danny Roberts in the front right of Chad Frankenfield. So getting pretty close, as actually we'll take a view from the blimp here in the iconic grandstands. As it is 3 wide as they head down to turn 1. Krobach looks down to the inside, backs out. Very, very good move. Possibly trying to practice a little bit of a run, maybe, but maybe he did that unintentionally, saying, well, you know what, I'm going to back off here for the time being. And Krobach falling very, very far back.
Yeah, this track is very momentum driven, especially tonight. So if you have to back out of the throttle, you are going backwards. Now, you can go back forwards very quickly, but off the bat, you're going to go back.
And you see the rest of the field here, for the most part at least, all very, very spread out as they head back down the front straightaway on lap number 35, completing lap number 35, starting lap 36 this time by. So at this point, this would be the end of the original pit window that you could really make it through. Everyone else, however, is on 11 laps as of right now, so we could be seeing Evan Adams pit in just a few laps' time. He's on lap number 27 of his run as well, just about lap 27. As Frankenfield and Roberts are slowly starting to break the second and third place gap just a little bit between themselves, about 0.4 seconds. Rounding up, of course, separates themselves from Evan Adams.
Yeah, and if we see those 2 break away, that's going to be a little surprising, because it's really hard to break away with this package. But I think we might see that gap shrink now that I see Evan Adams is starting to fall back a little bit. And you've got Krobach and Daly there on fresher tires. I think they're going to eat up that gap in about 2 laps.
And let's see if that is the case. Evan Adams still trying to at least hang on for the most part. If he does choose to go to pit road, I don't have to use the pit access road in turn 3 as recommended. Well, probably, but at the same time, if you pull off in time, hold the bottom lane on the exit of turn 4. Ooh, somebody had a huge moment there. That was Matthew Warner that almost got the outside wall. He may have clipped it just a bit, but I'm not seeing any visible damage on that 64.
Yeah, and as things shake out right now, it looks like everyone is going to, from here, be able to make it on 1 stop. So if I'm Evan Adams and I'm on lap, what are we, probably about 29 of his fuel run.
Yep.
He's got, I'd say, probably about 3 laps to go until he has to pit. Maybe a little longer, because we did have a good amount of caution laps. I'd definitely start playing that in my head, because it'll be interesting to watch that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what exactly he chooses to do. And speaking of somebody choosing what to do, Krobach is choosing to try and make up the top side. So you were not wrong in that case. We have one of those 2 drivers that have caught up for the time being to both Roberts and Frankenfield. And that's just Byron Daly that has to join in on this party all the way up to 4th now. So Daly on a very slow but methodical charge up through the field.
I'd say Daly's in this party right now. The thing is, he's just
laying back.
He got to the party early. He's the guy standing in the corner, just chilling, relaxing, and he knows that this party's going to go for about another hour or so. He's going to announce his presence when we get down to the last few minutes.
And Daly trying to make a very subtle statement for the time being, and he's doing a very wonderful job at that. Slowly snuck his way out to P4 after you see starting 17th after he qualified 17th for last week. So we'll see what exactly comes of this as Evan Adams tries to make a pass on the outside lane, lap 31 of his run. And we'll see if he decides to really make another move here. No move to pit road, that's for sure. So we might be seeing him come down next time around, but he's definitely hanging on to that draft as if it's a lifeline between himself and Byron Daly. Still no move for the lead as of yet. Your top 3 all under a blanket, and in a sense, your top 4 and top 5. This is something that's very common here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, is the drivers trying to break the draft ever so slightly by going down to the inside lane, but also that also works as a defense between yourself and the driver behind you trying to make a move, forcing them to go not only to the top side, but as well as you trying to at least break the draft, maybe with hopes of saying, well, you know what, I'm going to see if they're actually willing to follow. And of course, everyone is willing to follow. And that one driver is Danny Roberts, who has not let go of that back bumper, although with that corner entry, he may have let go of it just a little bit too much.
I gotta correct you on one thing. We're at Indy. We're doing gearboxes here. Nope.
They cut out, I believe, for that last half, but that does make sense. So Evan Adams holding strong so far, lap 34 of his run this time around. As Roberts continues to follow the number 15 of Chad Frankenfield for the time being. Lap number 43 of 100. The rest of the field, their stint is lap number 18. Save for a few drivers in a little bit of the mid-pack. As of right now, we'll see, speaking of the mid-pack, actually, we'll see if there's anyone else. I believe, however, that everyone is very, very spread out for the time being, trying to take their time and just ride this out to the end. And looking through the field, yep, that is still the case. Everyone's still just trying to ride it out to the end. Hanging strong, however, for the time being.
Yeah, as we see Matthew Warner just put himself up into, or I want to say he just put himself up into 5th, but I'm not actually positive. Yeah, he just put himself up in 5th.
Yeah, is no stranger to being in the top 5. Evan Adams may be out of fuel as he's using the... Oh, hold on. We'll hold off on saying that. Nope, his engine is still definitely running, but he's using the pit access road, trying to save just a little bit more fuel. So you don't have to use the pit access road, but in cases like Evan Adams, it's very, very recommended. Pit speed 60 miles an hour, just gets to it at the very correct moment. Not sure if he's... if he is using the pit limiter, it's not showing up on here, unfortunately, but pit limiter, of course, at 60. So flat number 45, Evan Adams retires to pit road to get some fuel, relinquishing his top 5 run. So that means Matthew Warner is actually in the top 5 again.
Yeah, as Adams is probably about to lose a lap here. He's going to come back in the pack a little ways. As Frankenfield's passing pit in right now, Adams is definitely going down.
Yep, there goes Evan Adams just on the bottom of the screen, getting put 1 lap down. So it may have been worth it. We'll find out, but at the moment it doesn't seem to be worth it. We still have 54.5 laps to go as we're on the back straightaway. Oh, I thought that was a spin off turn 2. It was somebody with a few connection issues there, and they were still continuing forward. As well as the smoke also continuing forward. The only time you see smoke continuing forward, and well, it's pretty much if you're locking up the brakes and trying to stop as hard as possible, but not while exiting a turn. So everything is still fine for the time being, unless you're Michael Krobach. Then in that case, you're getting put down 1 position, maybe 2 positions if Matthew Warner can capitalize. But at the moment, Daly makes his way very subtly up to 3rd. So we'll see how many laps Chad Frankenfield has led for the moment. 28 laps, so for some reason, definitely an 1/8 of the race. Sorry, 1/5 of the race has been led by Chad Frankenfield, 20 plus laps. So at the moment, you can still make your predictions over in the chat for sure. But the question is, again, fuel still has something to do with this. We have 23 laps on everyone else's current run for the time being, give or take a couple laps, due to scoring, putting that as... Actually, no, that could be correct. Pretty much ever since the drivers have exited their pit road or pit stall. And it's very spread out. Remember, Chad Frankenfield, I don't believe... Actually, hold off on saying anything, but Byron Daly definitely on a little bit of a charge here. Again, start 17th up to 3rd for the time being. Staying single file. Same with Dane Roberts. He's remaining behind Chad Frankenfield, making Frankenfield do all the work with a lot of draft, and all these full throttle on the around the racetrack this entire time. So he'll have to pit maybe a little bit earlier than expected. So as I pull up my stats here of the previous races, Chad Frankenfield has not yet won a single race as of pretty much right now. So while this could be in the hands of Chad Frankenfield, we still have 51 laps to go. Roughly a projected 34 minutes and 30 seconds remaining here in this race, as we have essentially the... I'm not going to finish that sentence, actually, just for fear of Commentator's Curse 101, so I'll hold off on saying that, but I'll just say it's been this certain color for a certain number of time. So we'll get halfway. We'll go double wide here. Not as of yet. We'll go through your field, then we'll go double wide, so you don't miss anything as of anything throughout this race. As we're approaching pit window lap number 26, and we'll go through your field for the time being, as we have still remaining in first place Chad Frankenfield with, I believe, yep, for sure, the most number of laps led after starting in second. Still remaining strong. Dane Roberts up 10 positions in second place. Byron Daly third place, slowly moving his way up through the field. Michael Krobach in fourth, been sitting here in the top 5 for a while. Same with Matthew Warner. He's also been sitting up here in the top 5 for a certain amount of time, a very good amount of time so far, about half the race. Eric Gonzalez sits in 6th. Kyton Bommersbach 7th. Brendan Minto 8th. A very, very massive number of positions gained for that number 5. Jared Dixon as well, a massive number of positions gained for himself. In fact, those two start on the very final row with each other. So Jared Dixon sits 9th. Gale Brooks sits in 10th. John Martin sits 11th. 12th place going to be Don Runkle Jr. Michael P. Hurley is 13th. Cohen Evans didn't really go anywhere. He sits in 14th. John Wilco currently sits in 15th. And Stephen Herring, going to pit road, sits in 17th, maybe going a lap down here. Last driver on the lead lap as of right now. Evan Adams on a very different strategy as opposed to the rest of the field. He sits one lap down in 17th. James Pasquarella, 19th, 7 laps down. Brian Kish in pit road. So pretty much anybody from about 19th, seem to be 18th on back, is out of this race, unfortunately. So we'll go double wide as well. Maybe not, because Matthew Warner just got the edge of the outside wall off of turn number 2 there. He'll hold on to it. I believe, we'll check his speed here. A solid 162. Yeah, go ahead.
He's still going. He's doing about 160.
He's dropping.
I think he's trying to let everyone by.
He's heavily dropping here. Let's see if he can get to the infield as of right here. Maybe not. Yeah, I decided not to do that. I believe Matthew Warner's actually out of fuel right now, and I would not be surprised. But he is actually, I am a little bit surprised. He's on lap number 28. Now he gets down to the inside, and we'll see before we go double wide what exactly happened with Matthew Warner here, because all I know is that he was in the wall off of turn number 2. May have a little bit of steering damage, actually, so that could be why he was being pretty careful here on the corner exit. So replay up on your screen. Into turn 1, drifts up, nudges the wall, nails the wall twice, 3 times. Oh yeah, it's a little bit of steering damage. You see when he tries to make the wheel go straight, the car wants to go to the right. And it's a little bit in between there with a little bit of steering damage, unfortunately, for Matthew Warner. So he sits in pit road for the time being, as Chad Frankenfield continues to lead the way around Indianapolis Motor Speedway, lap number 55 of 100. We're going double wide, so you don't miss a single thing. This is the Racing Line at Broadcasting Network. Pit stops should be happening very, very soon. In fact, we'll hold off on going double wide. Because I feel like we're going to be seeing a few pit stops here in a few moments. And we're in that. Yep, there it is. Chad Frankenfield instantly to pit road. Lap 30 of his run. Coming to lap 31 as he goes into pit road. That relinquishes the lead over to Danny Roberts. Michael Krobach up to second. Byron Daly back into third. Does anyone else go to pit road for the time being? I'm not seeing anyone else as of yet. So now it's Danny Roberts that is in control of the field. Krobach and Daly following suit just behind. We're in that little bit of a small space, that small window, about 10 laps or so, in between of runs, where you're wondering if you should try and stretch it out as much as possible or just pit now and hope for the best later on. As it is Gonzalez 4th, 5th place, Kyten Bommersbach going around that lap car of Stephen Herring, who I went to pit road earlier on.
Yeah, and looks like Herring's
Oh,
got
Jared Dixon had overshot his pit box. That's going to cost him a lot of time on pit road.
Yeah, Dixon had a very interesting pit entry. He came in a little hot and a little late.
And we'll see, taking a look at the replay, not seeing the tires smoke up, or at least lock up, at least from this camera angle, which is very good, but yeah, a little bit too quick on pit entry. And then coming into his pit box, 3, 2, that's where he should stop. And realizes, wait a second, my pit box is having a little bit of complications. Finally gets back up on the jacks. But it's cost him a lot of time. Multiple drivers again in pit road, Brendan Minto being one of them, along with John Martin and Michael Krobach. Some of these drivers are actually just now leaving their pit boxes as well. And just for a little bit of a reference as well, as we'll see if I can get back to Jared Dixon, his total pit lane time, as Cohen Evans leaves his pit box, his total pit lane time, 39.9 seconds. So rounded up to 40 seconds, as compared to pretty much anybody else, about 5 seconds slower. Eric Gonzalez, Kyten Bommersbach in pit road. Same with Danny Roberts, your leader. And Michael P. Hurley just goes into pit road as of right now as well. The pit stops for sure in effect, and this is going to be quite interesting to see how this plays off of everything else for later on. Byron Daly, Gale Brooks, and Don Runkle Jr. positions 1, 2, and 3. And Daly decides to relinquish the lead, goes to pit road. Did he lead the lap that time by, though? He did, so Daly has nothing to really worry about for the time being. Gale Brooks follows suit just in the background, goes into pit road. Don Runkle Jr. as well comes into his pit box. So these drivers have about, oh man, that's about 35 being the maximum, probably about 5-6 laps or so. A little bit of extra time. Not extra time, but really a little bit of time to think about how to play the rest of that strategy off. Do I pit halfway and split it in half? Or do I just run it to the end and then pit within the final few laps? So the driver that will be in the lead here in a few moments' time, will it be the 41 of Danny Roberts? Chad Frankenfield following suit in second place. Eric Gonzalez going to be third in a few moments. Fourth place going to be Kyten Bommersbach.
No. Byron Daly
Wait.
just destroyed.
Oh my gosh, he actually did.
Byron Daly came out of here with about an 1/8 of a mile lead over Danny Roberts. That is amazing.
That's yeah, you can see the gap right there is just at the top of the screen. And now, oh, Chad Frankenfield's not going to make this any easier, but that's actually going to work out. So Byron Daly is actually going to remain in the... That's the first time I've seen somebody pit in the lead and still remain in the lead. That's how much of a gap there was between Roberts and Daly, as well as the fact that, well, I don't even know how to react to that. That's just a new thing that I never expected before. So Byron Daly shuts down the run of Danny Roberts that could have happened, but now that gap could be closing. It's already closing. Never mind. That's going to be an interesting race for the lead here. So we'll go double wide with 35 laps to go in 5 laps time, and then we'll be back with 30 laps to go. But until then, we have an interesting race for the lead on our hands. So for those of you, if you're somehow just now joining, well, welcome to the Racing Line Broadcasting Network here with the second annual Fuel Jetstream Media IndyCar Series Indianapolis 250. Of course, race number 13 of 16 of the season. I'm Gary Weaver, as per usual, and joined by Will Roberts, who unfortunately had wrecked out way too early on. Definitely earlier than expected, and well, somehow, someway, Byron Daly starts 17th, back up to first, or into first actually, and remained in first on pit exit after a pit cycle. And it's got Frankenfield and Roberts breathing down the back of his neck here for the time being. Well, in a situation like this, Will, what do you think about pit strategy?
As things are going, I don't know. I feel like you would need to run this one out as long as possible, just because you never know what's going to happen. But with that big wreck early on, and how many good cars that took out, and just how thinned out this field has kind of gotten as a result, it might be good to short pit a little bit. But I see. I don't know. This is why they put me in the cockpit, not in the on the pit box. I can't speak.
That's alright, happens to me too, but yeah, that actually is understandable. I probably would run this at least to the end, or at least, yeah, no, that could work, but the thing is, if you run it to the end, then you could have the chance of miscalculating how much fuel you really need to have left. So in that case, I personally would probably split the run in half, so maybe 15 laps to go. I'd probably go to pit road saying, well, you know what, I don't care what stint or what number I'm on right now. And that actually may be in line with what some of these drivers are on. 15 laps to go could be the end. So about 20 to 15 laps to go. If drivers do pit around there, they are, of course, clearly good to the end of this race. So I'll go back through the field once again here as everything is finally settled out after pit stops. At the moment, your top three are Byron Daly, Chad Frankenfield, and Danny Roberts, with an interesting race on their hands here. Kyton Bommersbach currently sits fourth. Fifth place, Eric Gonzalez. He remained there for the majority of the race so far. Michael Krobach as well, remaining in the top 5. He sits in top 10, sorry. Gail Brooks currently sits 7th. Brendan Minto 8th. 9th, Jared Dixon. And 10th is Evan Adams. John Martin, sits in the 11th place position. 12th place going to be Michael P. Hurley. 13th, Don Runkle Jr. 14th, Cohen Evans. All of which are right next to each other and running similar paint schemes. John Wilco, the last driver on the lead lap, sits in 15th. Matthew Warner, 2 laps down, sits 16th. 17th, Stephen Herring, also 2 laps down, sits in 17th. 18th is James Pascarella, who sits 7 laps down. Drivers that are out of the race from 18th on back, 19th to 27th, in this order are Cade McKee, Zach Buchanan, Matt Hollabaugh, Ryan Kish, Jack Endrick, Will Roberts, Andrew Wood, Marshall Stanley, and Mitchell Walker. So, after currently 67 laps, working lap number 68, I believe, we have an interesting final race on our hands with strategy as well as drafting playing into effect. Your top 3 are all under a blanket, and this is the Racing Line Broadcasting Network. We're going to go double wide so you do not miss a single thing here for the second annual Fuel Jetstream Media IndyCar Series. Don't go anywhere.
the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
So we are back live here on the Racing Line Broadcast Network. As again, I am Gary Weaver, joined by Will Roberts, and a little bit of an interesting save by, I believe it was a 37, but it's back over on lap 66 just before we actually got to commercial, just as we went to double wide actually, and yeah, it was by the 37 of Kyten Bommersbach, the save of a lifetime, as Will Roberts is calling it, and we'll see what exactly happens here. Kyten on the inside lane, and the same thing that Mitchell Welker did earlier on in the race to bring out the first caution. Yep, nope, that makes sense as a save of a lifetime. My goodness, Kyten Bommersbach still remains in 4th after that, and I don't believe anyone there was really a lead lap car. A couple of drivers were there on the lead lap, but he made his way back up past them, and currently sits actually in 5th place. As on the inside of him, and just got around him, was Eric Gonzalez himself. As far as the fuel strategy goes here for the rest of this race, though, nobody is making it to the end. So at the very most, we'll see pit stops by about lap, and actually make this easier, 15 to go at the very most. For the minimum, it is 15. Actually, it's hard to count when you're not looking at the actual laps for me. Hold on a second. Lap 85. Sorry about that.
I'm gonna say that they could probably. There's a few guys out here who could probably make it all the way to lap. I'd say about 92. There's a few of them. I don't know if I would run it that far, but I think it's going to be doable to do that.
And it definitely is understandable. This battle for 4th place is still continuing to heat up for the time being, as it is Kyten Bommersbach just getting around Eric Gonzalez. Krobach sits back here in 6th place. He's been up around the top 5 for pretty much the entirety of this race, as we are on 24 laps to go at the start-finish line. And Krobach has absolutely nowhere to go. He moved to the inside for a quick second, but he's like, you know what? I think I'll stay behind and take the normal line entry. We'll see if we can get around Kyten Bommersbach. That is, unless Bommersbach gets around Eric Gonzalez first, drag race to the start-finish line for P4. Not sure who that was. We'll see what that comes across on the ticker as, and it is Bommersbach in 4th, Gonzalez 5th.
Now, the one thing that I will say to all of this, and I mean all this, strategy stuff that we've been throwing around, we're inside of 30 to go. Everyone can make it from here. If we get a caution, that's taking this race and that is turning it on its head. And we are going to see probably the wildest 20, 25 laps, however much we have left. The wildest 20 laps Indianapolis Motor Speedway has ever had.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting for sure if a caution does come out, although with how the rest of this race is played out, again being the longest run of this certain color, I will not say it specifically to avoid blame for commentator skirts 101. So it's been interesting for sure. We've been with this certain color double checking since lap number, actually hold off on that, as it's been about lap number, I believe 27 from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I'll put it this way: we've been going grass since about, I think we took the green flag 27.
Yeah, so far the longest run and pretty much the best run possibly, as well as because it's dealing with all this strategy. Everyone is a little bit different here. We'll go with this as your top 3. We have 19 laps on his stint, Byron Daly, who currently sits first. 20 laps on his stint is Danny Roberts, and 23 laps on his run is Chad Frankenfield. And then we have Kyton Bommersbach and Eric Gonzalez battling like it's no tomorrow because they're 20 laps on their run as of right now. Krobach, 21 laps on his run, and there's just everyone else about 19 to 20 or so laps on their current run. So this is going to be... Go ahead.
I was just going to say right quick, the only thing about it is I don't know if, is Bommersbach gets doubly loose again. I'm not sure if these guys back here, 4th, 5th, 6th, if they're going to be able to get up there if this keeps how it's... I think those top 3 are just too strong and just they're working together too well.
I mean, we did see Frankenfield and Roberts kind of break the gap just a little bit between, I believe 4th place at the time was Krobach. At that time, there was a little bit of a gap earlier on in this race. And right now, with Bommersbach and Gonzalez just battling back and forth, Krobach sitting here with really no other option but to just sit back and watch this unfold in front of him as he goes a little bit higher than intended there on the corner exit. Bommersbach on the apron of the exit, Gonzalez as well. It's a little bit of a wild exit of turn number 2 there. The fastest lap of this race, I believe, is a 39.804. Going to cross-check that, and it looks like that's a 39.804, and that was set by Byron Daly. There goes Krobach to pit road, 20 laps to go, coming to 19 laps to go. So far, he's one step ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, and one thing that I think we maybe didn't play up as much as we probably should have, which is really going to play into this. I don't think anyone's really going to be able to pull away. I don't think we're going to get through this pit cycle and just look and see there's one guy who's just fast and he's going to come out of here with a 10-second win. We're not going to see that. This is a lot more like NASCAR at Talladega.
Oh, there goes Daly. Yeah, Daly to pit road. Yeah, it's definitely going to be something that's going to be relevant. Similar, I should say, to a super speedway finish in the NASCAR side of ovals. That's just a complete drag race to the line. I want to specify super speedways to be more specific, since because of the new aero package on the Cup cars. So Daly relinquishes the lead with 18 laps to go. That gives the lead to Chad Frankenfield. Krobach had actually come out in front of the leaders, so he saves himself from going a lap down at the moment. That is, unless Chad Frankenfield and Roberts both decide to say, oh, never mind, there goes Frankenfield to pit road. Very, very fast on pit entry, though. I don't know. He barely makes it, though. And it looks like it's going to be, who's that behind him? Matthew Warner going to pit road, as well as, or someone else, Stephen Herring going to pit road as well. So now it's just Danny Roberts out in front, put Krobach one lap down. This could help out Krobach, though. because he has a little bit of, well, never mind. He has a little bit of the draft as well as fresher tires. Byron Daly, well, he is, in relation to Danny Roberts, actually ahead still for the time being. So Daly still remains on the lead lap.
Yeah, Daly, it seems like, has been killing these pit stops tonight. But the thing is that we have to keep in mind, he's going to be running, even though he, I'm sure, had a really good pit stop and a really good in, a really good out, and made up a lot of time there. He's losing time right now by being out there by himself. I may have spoke too soon because Chad Frankenfield actually came out ahead, and they're going to be right together.
Yeah,
Or maybe not, actually.
It doesn't look like it. It could be a similar situation with how Daly came out pit road and still managed to stay just in front of Roberts and Gonzalez. And speaking of Roberts, actually, I thought I was going to pit road. I saw it incorrectly. That's what I saw the change for second place, actually, on the time.
Whoa. We've got to back up here. Byron Daly's coming back down pit road. I think he got a speeding penalty or something.
Oh, he may have. Well, hold off. We'll see how long he sits in pit road.
I just heard over some of the communication channels. It looks like Daly did get a penalty, so that's huge.
It could be.
Huge. That's going to drop.
That
That's going to drop him to at least sixth, if not lower, once this all cycles through.
It's not even going to drop him to sixth. He's already a lap down, 17.2 seconds in his pit stall. And I'm pretty sure that was also involving the fact that he may have decided to really refuel. Let's see, all the way through pit road. Apologies for the black screen. I'm just looking through this right now. That's what I'm doing, at least. He didn't speed through pit road. He did have, it may have been at the last second on pit exit, because he barely shut off the pit limiter. He was about 5 over on the pit exit. I'm not seeing anything on the actual exit of pit road as we're back live here. So it couldn't have been the exit of his line. But that's going to set him back a ton. He's about to go 2 laps down here unless Danny Roberts decides to pit, but he does not. So Roberts decides to stay out. Gonzalez and Bomber's Box still remain second and third just behind. And 2 laps down goes Byron Daly.
Yeah, that's not what you want running for a championship, because all that good progress that Byron Daly's been making all race to put himself, try and maximize that gap to Mitch Welker and put, a whole race, 2 whole races even, since this is double points tonight. That just all went away. Byron Daly, it looks like, is going to be lucky to come out of here with a 1-point lead.
Yeah,
even with Mitch Welker having his issues earlier, with Byron Daly sitting 15th right now, it looks like he's going to come out of here with the 1 point you get for finishing the race.
And Roberts is really close to the outside wall there. Yeah, it could be similar to last week, where again it was 1 point. I believe it was 2 points that are separating their front 2 runners in the point standings by last week. I'm double checking that just to make sure.
Actually,
right now.
Obviously, I won't be able to confirm this until after the race is over and we get the results all cycled through. But I believe with Mitch Welker and the 2 points he's going to get for pole. I'm sorry. Actually, I take that back. I'm sorry. I've been saying that all race. Mitch Welker did not get pole. That was Zach Buchanan. So Mitch Welker is going to get no points out of tonight.
Oh.
Byron Daly, it looks like he's going to get 1. So the points gap is going to pretty much stay the same. It's going to be a 2-point gap coming out of here and going to Charlotte.
And that is absolutely devastating. And now your top 5, actually no, 6th on back, are all 1 lap down. Danny Roberts on his 31st lap right now. And right when I say that, there he goes into pit road. Pit entry. Oh, slow it up. There he goes. 50 miles an hour on entry. And that leaves Don Runkle Jr. in 2nd place for the time being. So that means it could possibly, I'm going to double check his run here. It could possibly, now it's not going to be Chad Frankenfield by the time he exits pit road. By the time Roberts exits pit road, it's still, hold on a second, Runkle Jr. is actually staying out. So this is going to be interesting.
Runkle's still going, but he maybe has like 1 or 2 laps left in the tank.
Yeah, it's
But here's the thing. here's the thing. Danny Roberts has been riding and slingshotting around in draft for the last, I want to say 10 laps. Chad Frankenfield's been by himself. He's not been able to get that draft speed. Although,
He might be able
Roberts, I think you're right. I thought Roberts would come out a lot further ahead than he is, but I don't know if maybe he had a bad entry or bad exit or what's going on, but they're coming out right. That is not what I would have expected coming out of this last.
Yeah, Don Runkle Jr. taking it easy on pit entry. As it should be. Yep, it will be Danny Roberts, and Chad Frankenfield has immediately caught up, and he'll pass Danny Roberts going into turn 1. But again, like you mentioned, Will, it's going to be Danny Roberts with the slingshot advantage again and the draft. But the thing is, Kite Bommersbach and Eric Gonzalez, they are almost nowhere to be found in terms of location. The distance between both of those drivers, the entire top 4, is absolutely insane. So we could be seeing a 2-car finish for the lead here, a 2-car race for the lead, unless Gonzalez and Bommersbach decide to somehow stay single file. But it's 8 laps to go. Frankenfield is leading at the moment, adding on to his most laps led.
Frankenfield's leading this one. I do know from some communications from over here, it looks like Bommersbach and Gonzalez are going to try and work together, but 7 laps and a 3.8 second gap at the line, I just don't see that happening. I just don't see how they're going to be able to cut that down even to half that in that little amount of time.
And they continue to go side by side for 3rd place as well. So trying to get that ever so, I don't know what I was going for with that, to be honest, but the ever so famed, I guess, pole position here. Bommersbach with the crossover at the start-finish line, and he'll get 3rd place. It's probably about a nose or so. But Danny Roberts now, Danny Roberts has the advantage in a sense, unless you look at how much fuel has been put in both of these cars. Of course, I have absolutely no idea, but if Chad Frankenfield had put enough fuel to at least get to the end instead of a full tank, then that could be the reason that Chad Frankenfield is just barely managing to get out in front, as well as the fact that Danny Roberts is laying back. There's of course that fact. He's trying to save fuel, laying back, waiting for the right moment, not wanting to get taken advantage of for the race win off of turn number 4 at the last second, as we had 6 laps to go. I mean, your total time on pit road for Chad Frankenfield, 33.2 seconds. And a 7.6 second pit stop. Danny Roberts had a 34 second total pit lane time and an 8.1 second pit stop. So just judging by that, it was tires as well as just a little bit more fuel. 5 laps to go, though. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here as the battle for 3rd continues between Gonzalez and Bommersbach. Probach still remains in 3rd place. And there's Byron Daly just in front, unfortunately 1 lap down. And at this point, if the caution comes out, the race, I believe, let's see, 5 laps to go, about 4 laps of, it will be over at this point. So,
yep.
If the caution does come out, the race is over. But with how we've been going since lap 27, I don't think that's really a worry.
No, I think you're right, and although we've got a lot of guys that are stuck together in like little like 2-car packs basically, there's nothing that's really screaming to me that it could be like an accident or something waiting to happen. For the most part, it's almost like everybody's kind of riding by themselves.
Yeah, and Danny Roberts for sure is one of those drivers, because it's just like a little bit earlier in the race where it's Danny Roberts falling behind Chad Frankenfield while Frankenfield is all full throttle. But at the same time, he's also in the clean air. But at the same time for Frankenfield, while he's starting to move just a little bit now, trying to defend possibly, but definitely trying to say, hey, you know what, I know you're behind me, but I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. So 3 laps to go.
All right, now Gary, something I want to bring your attention to right quick as we do come around for 3 to go.
Yep, go ahead.
Frankenfield's leading right now. Roberts is in 2nd. But what's coming up on the track is number 13, Stephen Herring, a lapped car.
Oh, yeah.
That, especially with how much of the race the draft has played into it, Now they may catch him a lot quicker than the start-finish line, but we're coming down to 3 to go. Any advantage you can get, I'm taking.
Yeah, this could be the advantage. Let's see as we look ahead of Stephen Herring. Well, the closest car is off of turn number 4 right now. That is John Wilco, all the way on the front straightaway. So this could be the one and only shot that Chad Frankenfield has, as they'll get the draft this time by. Both drivers trying to get through the middle at the very least. Was Danny Roberts hinting towards the 3 wide, but 2 laps to go. It's time to make the. It's almost time to make the move, but now is not the exact time to make that move.
No, I think you're gonna want to wait until
Right about here.
either. I wouldn't even say that. I'd say you either want to be in turn 3, or you want to wait until you get in at least into turn 4, maybe off the corner. Probably off the corner. You want to wait till like the last second, just about to make that. Any diehard IndyCar fans who are gonna remember this, I feel like what you're gonna have
there he
is
goes.
almost. Yep, just like that. Almost. I feel like we're gonna have almost a repeat of the 2013 Freedom 100.
We'll see what happens here as Roberts gets very close to the outside wall. Top side, this may go into... it's going to be a drag race at this point as they go side by side down the back straightaway for the final time. Danny Roberts may have made the move way too... Actually, wait, hold on a second. He could have the draft here off turn number 4. He's not going directly behind Chad Frankenfield, so no, now he does, actually. Off of turn 4, drag race topside. Frankenfield defends near contact. It's a drag race to the start-finish line, and it will be Chad Frankenfield with the second annual Fuel Indianapolis 250 win just by a car length coming to the start-finish line after what I thought was a late attempt by Danny Roberts. He had that timed very well, actually. I would personally wait maybe just a little bit more, but at the same time, I can understand where he's coming from. So third place is going to be Kyton Bonnersbach. We're going to interview with your top 3 just after this, as Eric Gonzalez and Michael Krobach round out your top 5. Ooh. So the race is officially, well, not official, well, yeah, it's officially over. Results, of course, maybe official, maybe not official. It just depends on exactly everything else by the end of this. But other than that, though, we have Chad Frankenfield, Danny Roberts finishing with 0.045 seconds being the margin of victory. Kyton Bonnersbach finishes 3rd, Eric Gonzalez 4th, 5th place, Michael Krobach. Caleb Brooks finishes 6th, 7th, Brandon Minto, 8th, Evan Adams, 9th, John Martin, and 10th is Michael P. Hurley. Cohen Evans finishes 11th, 12th is Don Runkle Jr., Jared Dixon 13th, John Wilco 14th, Byron Daly unfortunately finishes 15th, Matthew Warner 16th, Stephen Herring 17th, James Pasquarella 18th, 19th, Caden McKee, 20th, Zachary Buchanan, and the rest of your field, Matt Hollabaugh, Ryan Kish, Jack Andrick, Marshall Stanley, Andrew Wood, Will Roberts, and Mitchell Welker finishing at 21st through 27th. So we'll be back after this with your top 3 interviews here, as Chad Frankenfield does a little bit of a victory lap here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We'll see what everyone has to say here for this. This is the Racing Line at Broadcasting Network. Don't go anywhere. You have your post-race interview coming up next. And we are back live here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, if I could properly pronounce things for a quick second, with the Fuel Jetstream Media IndyCar Series, with your third place finisher being Kyten Bommersbach, with a very, very great run and an interesting battle, by the way, as well, with Eric Gonzalez coming to the start-finish line. As we're actually watching that right now, we'll play that through a little bit quicker. But Kyten with a pretty much a green flag run for about 74 laps for the rest of the race. What was going through your mind there throughout this race?
Well, at the start, quite frankly, a lot of people weren't using their heads, and so I was kind of disappointed. And then, to go green to the end, I wasn't, it's what I wanted, but I wasn't fully prepared. I don't know if you had an eye on me at all, but I was backing out. Even at the start of this run, I backed out. And then I kind of started slowly making my way up towards the front before pit stops. And we got separated from Chad and Danny after the first pit stop. They used a bit of a different strategy, and they were up in the lead. And we just leapfrogged pretty much the rest of the race up until about lap 95, Eric and I. And then coming to the line, he played it perfect. He laid back. He had me. And then I got lucky, and I caught a lap car. Got to stay in front of him, so I get the interview.
Yeah, very, very close indeed as well. Definitely caught that save that you had off of turn 3. And it was very similar to what happened to Mitch Welker earlier on, unfortunately. But this time, that time actually happened to you. You managed to save it, so that was definitely a little bit nerve-wracking, I assume, for you to nearly spin out in the same spot and use the same curb to the extent of nearly spinning out.
Yeah, I did that a couple times. That was probably by far the biggest one. It's scary, but I've got a lot of experience running around Indy, so I know how to handle it. And fortunately, I was given room. I want to say, Eric Gonzalez and Michael Krobuk were very respectful all race, and really appreciate just the respect they showed me. Hopefully they feel like I showed it back to them. But yeah, it's always sketchy catching that curb.
So heading into Charlotte next week for the oval course, what are you expecting for that 134 lap race?
I think it's going to be a lot of what you saw in the first couple laps here. Kind of chaotic. Don't always look forward to the chaos. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of mixing it up in the pack. I like to hang back and then strike towards the end. So I think it'll be an interesting watch, though. So
yeah, it's definitely interesting for sure. So before we go ahead and let you go, anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to for your third place finish?
As always, want to give a shout out to Will Roberts and the whole admin team for everything they do, putting this show on, and then also want to thank Ryan Kish. He got knocked out in that first crash, and he stayed on and was my spotter for the rest of the race. And he kind of kept me focused if I'd ever go off on a tangent. So big thanks to him, because he definitely didn't have to stick around after getting taken out right at the start.
We're going to go ahead and let you go. Congratulations once again on your third place finish.
Thank you.
I want to correct myself. It's actually 2 weeks from now that it is the Charlotte Motor Speedway race, but until then, we have your second place finisher being Danny Roberts, finishing in the 41. Almost had you definitely for sure had a great run throughout the night, but unfortunately just at the last second with that pretty much that final run off of turn 4, you almost had it by a car length, but unfortunately it just wasn't the case. But you still managed to come up with a second place finish.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Yeah, it was, I was just trying to stay out of trouble until, which was fortunate I did, and not try to push anything until the very end. And then I don't know that I would have got Chad anyway. We kind of bumped right there coming out of 4. I would have been closer, but I don't think I would have passed him. It was a fun race, though. It was really good. Really clean racing.
Yeah, it's absolutely clean for sure. What's going through your mind there with pit strategies during that long green flag run that we had?
Well, I figured Chad was having to run 5th gear, so I knew he was going to have to pit 2 or 3 laps sooner than me. I kept it in 6th the whole time. So, I kept hoping that I could stretch it. And I got lucky on at least 2 of the pit stops because I caught some lappers when he pitted and I stayed out. So I was able to draft a bit. And each time I came out in front of him, but he was up to speed, and with the draft, he would just go right on by, and then I just have to sit with him. So it was frustrating, but it was a fun race.
Yeah, it's definitely fun as well up here. So heading into next week for the Charlotte Road Course, what are you looking ahead? What are you looking forward to as we head to the Oval Road Course for 134 laps?
I'm looking forward to it. This season has been the worst season ever for me, and 2 or 3 races ago, I started turning things around. Just stopped trying to do stupid stuff and just make points. Just try to get points and move up a bit. And I've kind of got my mojo back, I think. So even tonight, I was just not going to jump to the lead or try to force anything. And so that's kind of how I'm going to finish out the season, hopefully.
Hopefully that is the case. I mean, you've been pretty much on a little bit of a roll since Long Beach, the second race at Long Beach. So it looks like it's so far playing in your favor. But before we go ahead and let you go, anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to for your second place finish?
Well, congrats to Chad and Kyton for sure. That I know Kyton came from back a bit, so he did quite good. Chad did awesome. But of course, the biggest thanks goes to Will Roberts, who puts this league together and has for a long time and does just an amazing job. So we're all so fortunate to be able to do this, with the league that he's put together. So, and thank you guys for covering it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely fun up here as well for sure. So congratulations again on your second place finish. We hope to see you next time.
Thanks, Gary.
So that is Danny Roberts with second place. Just as an update as well, we'll go through some statistics as well just after your interview with your one and only race winner being Chad Frankenfield, who sounds like he's already eating snacks already. So other than that, though, Chad, congratulations on your race win. What was going through your mind there on that final lap?
To be honest with you, Danny, he was behind me, and I'm thinking, he's going to get me here on the last lap. Like I've been preaching it for a couple of days now that if whoever's in second on the last lap is going to win the race, and he tried something real early, and I was surprised that he did it that early, and I knew as soon as he got to the outside and he didn't clear me into one, I was going to be able to hold him off down the back straightaway. So then I think he realized it too, and he backed off and then tried to get a draft off of 4. And I don't know if he was pushing as far as he had aero push or what, but I knew my only shot was to go up the track and try to cut that outside lane off and force him to cut across. And I don't think he expected me to come up high like that. So it kind of killed his momentum. But yeah, I mean, it was just a crazy last lap, all split-second decisions, really.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy for sure. During that about 72 green flag lap run, what was also going through your mind through that? Because there's strategy that was also involved, as well as majority of which being strategy. So any little bit of difficult decisions that you had to make for that to get that strategy to work out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still really, really new to the IndyCar side of league racing. So I've never really ran races that were this long. So that was one thing coming in I was a little worried about, was if I was going to figure out the strategies or not. But with the tire wear was out, there was no tire wear at all, especially in the second half of the race. So it really became a question of just saving fuel. And then once I think Byron figured out that, like, okay, I was going to be able to save now, and then Danny was good. He had to pit to kind of switch everything up. And as soon as he pitted, I was going to pit just because I knew I'd be able to come out with his draft. The biggest thing was, without having tire wear like it should be at Indy, you really could just run right behind. I was in 6th gear, maybe half throttle that whole 20 laps. So yeah, I mean, it was wild. I mean, it was a great race. And I want to thank Will for putting this together. I'm having a great time in the series.
We're definitely having a great time as well. So heading into Charlotte in the next 2 weeks, what are your thoughts for that race?
Again, it all depends on the setup. If it's packy, it's going to be crazy. If it's not, then I tend to enjoy the races more when they're not as pack racing like. So hopefully that's what we got. But yeah, I mean, I looked at the points, and I'm in third now. So I mean, I'm doing everything I would want plus more. So really, it's just a question of just continuing to have clean races. Try to continue to earn the respect of these other guys, and really just continue to build momentum into next season. But this win's probably the biggest win I've gotten in league racing and iRacing. Indianapolis means so much to me, and to be able to come away with a win is just a phenomenal feeling, especially with the guys that are in this league. I mean, this is definitely one of the best IndyCar leagues out there, and it's a good feeling.
It's absolutely wonderful as well, especially it's sort of an endurance race in its own right as well. So definitely a very great achievement as well. I said as well about 500 times, unfortunately, throughout that sentence. But aside from that, though, we hope to see you next time. So congratulations on your race win.
Thank you very much.
So that has been Chad Frankenfield, and I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe Will has some fancy statistics waiting up for us.
All right, so first off, I want to say congrats to Chad. That was an amazing run he did to be able to pull that one out like he did. That was awesome. Now, here's where it gets a little spicy. We've got 3 races to go in this championship. We just had our final double points run of the season. That lap, what was it? I believe lap 6 or lap 7 accident with Mitch Welker. We thought, that's it. That's his title. It's done. He's put a fork in him. His goose, it's cooked. Things are a lot spicier now because now we've got 3 races to go. Byron and Mitch have been pretty much going back and forth every race this season as to who's the fastest any given week. And there's 2 points in it right now. Byron has it by 2 points. We go to Charlotte in 2 weeks. There's no telling who's going to come out in front. We go to Sonoma in 3 weeks. No telling. And we go to Kansas for the finale. It's wide open. I think we're going to see an amazing, thrilling fight here for the finish. Now, I will say one thing. I thought we were going to be a lot closer on this, but I think because we saw so many passes, we didn't hit that lead change number like I thought we did. I think we might have had more on-track lead changes than we've had before, but because I think so many of them we got back to the line and the same guy was still in the lead, I don't think we got the official lead change record. I know we didn't get the official lead change record. I don't think we didn't get anywhere close, but I think that's why. Because we actually came up, we only had 24 lead changes. I know we had more than that on track, but I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
That's all right.
But yeah, I got a lot of praises tonight, so I just want to say I know I'm not being interviewed here right now, but I want to say thank you to everybody that comes out here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Congrats to Chad Frankenfield on the W tonight. It was well earned, and I hope everyone had as good of a time as I did tonight.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting for sure as well, and definitely interesting to see what exactly would come of this as well in the future. So as we go ahead and wrap up, I'd like to thank Will Roberts again for joining on commentary, especially after he offered. And shout out to Eric Gonzalez, even though he wanted to be interviewed, I decided not to. So I'm sorry, Eric, but as well as the fact that he was here at the beginning, so that counts. He finished the race. I think that's hopefully enough. But we'll be back as well in just a couple of weeks' time, as per usual, with the upcoming races we have this coming Sunday, the Flat Out Racing League with the Cage Cup Series. They stay at Charlotte with the Roval course for 55 laps for this Sunday, May 19th at 8:40 p.m. Eastern Time. That's when that goes live. And then we have essentially an entire week off from the 26th to the, pretty much the week of May 26th. We have that entire week off. So we will not be back up until the next flat out Cup Series league race, I should say, which is Martinsville Speedway, the paperclip, and one of the final 3 races of the season. And then we'll be back with the Fuel Jetstream Media IndyCar Series with Sonoma the week of June 2nd. So that race is June 6th, about going live at about 6:05 p.m. Eastern Time for 50 laps. And then that is almost it for the end of the season. Until then, those are the next 3 upcoming races, actually, for the Racing Line Broadcasting Network. So we thank you all for tuning in for the 2nd annual Fuel Jetstream Media IndyCar Series 250, Indianapolis 250, and we hope to see you next time. Good night from Indianapolis.